So a couple of months later, it is now time for the husbands to take their trip. This trip is not about reconciliation or rebuilding. No, it is about relaxation, capital R. They are ready to go and just soak up the sun, relax, have drinks. They're good. They're ready. They're good. And so Fumi, being the amazing wife she is, organizes the trip for them. And all Pastor Richard has to do is make sure that his boys' schedules are open and they're ready for this amazing trip. Now, the day before the trip, Fumi and Pastor Richard are in the closet packing. And Fumi says to him, so remind me again, Pastor, why you are not going to Bazaruto Island, Mozambique, like we did. And he's like, whatever spirit caught you guys and had you fighting like that, I want no part of it. And they burst out laughing. So they finish packing. Destination Zanzibar. Now, Pastor Richard had always wanted to go to Zanzibar, and he made it a point, like, baby, I'm going to Zanzibar with the boys. It's something I've always wanted to do. And Fumi was okay with it. She knew that first and foremost, they could go back together if it was really that amazing. But also, she knows her husband, and she knows his idea of fun when they're on vacation is not really hers. She's more the relaxed, I just want to chill and read books and sit by the pool and just do my own thing. Whereas Pastor Richard is here. I want to go. I want to explore. I want to go sightseeing. I want to do this. I want to be the tourist in that place. For me, not so much. So she's thinking this is the perfect opportunity for him to get this out of his system. So if we do go back, we're going back to enjoy it in a more relaxed and quiet manner. And so she plans the trip. She puts together an itinerary knowing that Pastor Richard would want to go there and completely take advantage of everything the place had to offer. So they get there. They get to Zanzibar. Now, of course, because their flight arrived very late, unfortunately, they were not able to see they weren't able to see just how beautiful the place was until the following morning. By the time they got there, they were knackered. They were very, very tired. It had just been a long trip. Prior to the trip, some of them had worked. It just was a long day. So they got there and they passed out. The next morning, Michael's on the phone with his wife, Tando. So before we go ahead, let me just give you a little rundown. Pastor Richard is married to Fumi, as I said. Michael is married to Tando, and he's an architect. Nati is married to Cassandra, and he is in real estate. Then we've got Tsepo. Tsepo is married to Tumi. Well, they're, separated, trying to see if they can work things out. And he's a distiller. He has created his own brand of amazing, successful, popular gin. He is doing very well. Very, very, very well. Then we've got Nathaniel. He was engaged to Juju. Unfortunately, things didn't work out, but Nathan has moved on. He is now in a new relationship and he's happy. He is good. So Michael gets up in the morning and immediately video calls Tando and gives her a little tour of the villa. And while he's doing the tour, the other men come out of their rooms to grab some coffee, and they're just like, this man. And when Michael puts down the phone, he was like, Richard, you need to call your wife up and tell her just how beautiful this place is. She has done an amazing job. The other men were like, absolutely, call Fumi up and let her know she did the damn thing. This place is gorgeous. I mean, we thought our girls' villa was amazing. This place is breathtaking. And so he made it a point to call her and let her know. Now, as I said, Fumi had planned everything. So Pastor Richard reminded them that, guys, we've got X amount of time to have coffee, to wake up properly, to get ourselves together because we need to meet at the reception area. Shuttles coming to fetch us so that we can go to Stone Town. So they get ready, they meet at the reception area, and they go to this town. They get on the shuttle and they go to this town, which is about an hour and a bit away. Now, what makes Stone Town so exceptional and so just a place to see is, of course, it's a heritage site. It's one of the oldest places in Zanzibar, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. It has this very Indian, Parisian, Arab, European feel and vibe to it, like influence. And this was right up Pastor Richard's alley. This is the type of stuff he liked. As I said to you guys, he wants to come to places and experience what that place has to offer. He was there. And she, of course, made sure that the hotel had organized for them to have an amazing tour guide who was there, showing them what they needed to see, taking them here, telling them about this culture, about this, about that, about the traditions, about, this is just giving them a good history lesson. He made sure they got that information. And they were loving it. They were absolutely loving it. They were loving the walk. They were loving being out there and seeing what they had to offer. And of course, the tour guide was like, we're not going back until you guys enjoy some local cuisine and some local beer. And so he found them a spot. They sat there and they indulged. They had a good time. Now, you know how men are. They are entertaining themselves. They hear cheers, laughing. Now, Pastor Richard is not drinking, but come on, he doesn't need alcohol for this thing to be popping. It's popping. So they're busy here cheersing. He's drinking his fresh juice. Here. And they're having a good time. They even introduce him to some of the non-alcoholic stuff, and he loves it. He loves it. Now, on their way back to the shuttle, Michael kind of stays behind and he goes into one of the stores so that he can get a souvenir for Thando. And Nati decides to wait for him. So Nati says to him, being newlyweds, I still remember that. It's a nice place to be, huh? And Michael's laughing, and Michael says, you know I was married before this, right? And he's like, what? You were married? And he was like, yeah, I mean, I don't really like to advertise that because it exposes my age. And he laughs, but yeah, I was married before it. And he was like, and the ex, what happened with her? What's going on? And he says, well, look, the truth of the matter is I married young. And I think I wish I had waited to have met the right person for me being Thando, but I didn't. There was that pressure to find somebody. There was that pressure to take the relationship further. And so I did. And I married her and we had kids together. And I don't regret it because our kids are amazing. I love them with all my heart. But of course, the relationship unfortunately didn't work out. And Mnati's like, sometimes that happens, but as long as they're happy, as you're happy. So they make their way back to the shuttle. The trip back is smooth. They're talking in the car. It's that. They get back to the villa, and Fumi, being who she is and such a planner, made sure that they had a cook come to the villa and prepare dinner for them because she knew they would not leave that villa after that tour at Stone Town. She knows her husband, and she knows he wouldn't have just wanted to go there for a short amount of time. He would have wanted to see everything and anything. So she had planned that there'd be a cook come. So they get there and they relax. At about past 6, the doorbell goes and the cook is there. Pastor Richard shows him in, takes him to the kitchen and is like, here, if you need the braai area outside, there it is. We're good. So the men decide to get into the water except Pastor Richard and Tsepo. So now they're kind of sitting to the side, and Pastor Richard says to him, Tsepo, how's everything going? Like, how's everything? How are you? How's everything? And he's like, things are tough. They're tough. I don't know what to say to you. I mean, we're carrying on, but some days I really feel like my wife hates me. And he says, your wife doesn't hate you. She's hurt. Now, obviously, he's talking about Dumi. She's hurt She's depleted. She's been through a lot, but she doesn't hate you. If she hated you, she would not have gone or chosen to go for counseling. She wouldn't have agreed to go for counseling. And Tsepo's kind of like, yeah, I mean, yeah, if you say so. And Pastor Richard says, Tsepo, don't beat yourself up. Yes, you did things you were not supposed to do, but marriage is not easy. Marriage is not, it's not child's play. And this is why I always say to my congregation, I always say to my people, whatever you do before you get married, get counseling. Come to the church and get counseling. I always say, don't try and skip those steps and go behind the pastors no, get counseling. It's for your own good. It's for your own good. A church is where you're supposed to learn what the author, the creator himself, being God, has to say about marriage. Now, as the creator, he has to be the one to tell you how to conduct yourself. And we are there to give you that information. We're there to remind you. It's in your Bible. We're there to remind you. And so if you have the right type of counseling, these are the type of things we'll be able to go through with you before you choose to take those steps. Marriage is very spiritual. It is a very, very spiritual thing. A lot of people underestimate just how spiritual it is. Some of the things we talk about, some of the things we address in the counseling are things like any family strongholds and spiritual, just curses and strongholds, anything that has held the family. And one of the things that people often don't think is the spirit of infidelity, cheating, lust. Now, if you had brought men of God, if you had brought your pastor or a church counseling, they would have been able to go through all of this with you and go back down the history and your family and speak to you about these things and uncover, has there been infidelity? Does the spirit already exist in the family? Are these things that we need to work through? So next time you want to make any major life decisions, just make sure you do it the right way. Seek counseling. There's nothing to be ashamed. There's nothing shameful about that, brother. And so they're there on the side talking about it, talking. Eventually, dinner is ready. The rest of the men join them and they enjoy a really, really, really pleasant evening. No drama, nothing. The following day, they wake up early. Again, Fumi, being who she is, knowing her husband, plans a morning of snorkeling. And so Nathaniel, Nati, and Pastor Richard wake up early so that they can go down for breakfast. Tsepo decides to stay in, and so does Michael. He stays in, speaking to Tando on a video call, and Tsepo decides to try his luck, and he calls Stumi. And so he calls her and she's like, hello. And he was like, hi, I just thought I would call you. I'm sorry I haven't called you. I just wanted to give you a bit of time, after therapy and all of that. I just wanted to give you your space. And she's like, oh, okay. And he's like, so how's everything? How are the kids? And she's like, we're all good. And he was like, yeah, I'm actually in Zanzibar. It's really beautiful here. I'm hoping that one day, me, you, and the kids can come here. And she keeps dead quiet. And he's like, hello, are you there? And she's like, no, I'm here. And he's like, did you hear me? And she's like, I heard you, but I can't make any commitments, Tsepo. I can't. I'm not going to say yes, and I'm also not going to lead you on. We're going through counseling, yes, but I don't know where this is going to end up. So I'm not going to make any commitments. And he's like, yeah, no, you're right. Sorry I brought it up. It gets really awkward, and he's like, listen, I better go. The guys are calling me. No, they weren't. They were at breakfast. Michael was in his room. He was hurt. He was feeling it. He was feeling it. Eventually, when they finish up with breakfast, they come back to the room, get the guys, grab what they need to go, and they meet at the beach. Take a boat, go snorkeling. Now, after the snorkeling, it had been planned, again, Fumi, I don't even have to keep saying that because Fumi is that boss. She's planned everything. So she makes sure that after the snorkeling, they get to go back to the villa, changed all of that, and then they'll meet on the beach for just some cigars and a light dinner and some cognac. And so they enjoy their snorkeling. They go back to the villa, shower, relax a bit. Michael calls Tando again. He's sending her pictures of their day out. Just really, the vibe is here. Nati also calls Cassandra and he's like, baby, I'm just calling to check in, let you know that we're safe. Snorkeling was good. Tell the kids I miss them. Send them these pictures that I took. Show them these pictures I took. All of that. Nathaniel also goes back to his room and he's with his girl. He's calling her up and like, I miss you. I'm going to bring you here. This is so romantic. Da 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 da. Just whispering some sweet nothings in her ear. And yeah, they get back. They get cleaned up and they go back down to the beach where they have set up a really, really nice space for them to enjoy their cognac and their cigars and some dinner. Now it's sunset. So they're sitting there and they're taking in this very cool summer breeze, just completely relaxed and chilling. Yeah, they're looking at this water and like, oh, this is beautiful. And they say, guys, Michael says that, you know, Pastor Richard, thank you once again, and to Fumi. This is absolutely amazing. She has really planned an amazing vacation, and we are so grateful for it. And he says, no, I let her know, and I'll tell her again. So they're chilling there. And Nathan, smoking his cigar, says, so Pastor Richard, I've got a question for you. What would you say, Michael, says to him, I've got a question for you. What would you say the secret to marriage is? And Pastor Richard stops and he's like, you know, I can't say this is necessarily for everybody, but our secret, the reason why mine and Fumi's marriage works so beautifully is because we both serve God before we are of service to each other, our family, and everybody else. We serve God. We both understand our role in this marriage. You know, I met Fumi already in church. It's not like I had to find, you know, or it's not like I found her and I had to teach her. No, the Bible says when man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. In other words, when he finds a woman who already understands those values, not when man finds a woman, no, when he finds a wife, a woman who already understands those values, he finds a good thing. And so I found her already knowing and understanding those values, and we were both clear from the beginning. God is number one. He comes first in all of this. And we both know that we've got a role to play. One of the most underplayed, or one of the things that's not often spoken about or put to the front as much, because we have this culture of grooming women to become good wives, is men becoming or being husband material. Men being husband material. You know, just off the top of my head, you know, Malachi chapter 2 talks about God's disapproval of a husband who cheats. Him talking about how it doesn't please him. It does not please him at all. And that he will treat you accordingly. He will treat you according to your behavior. And so those were the things I understood. I didn't just go into there with this, I'm the man, I need a good wifey. No, I went into it also trying to be the best husband. And so we both know our roles and we play them. There's no competition, we know our roles and we play them. And that to me is what makes our relationship and our marriage so successful. They're all looking at him like, yeah. So they're nodding their heads. And he says, well, Michael says, I mean, that's great advice. I wish, you know, I knew some of this before I got married. I really do. Like I was saying to Nati yesterday, I have no regrets, but I wish I knew and I understood more about it before I got married. I would never have wanted to waste her time, and I most certainly wouldn't want my time to be wasted. And Nathaniel says, can I ask you something personal? And he says, yeah, go ahead. And he says, was your previous wife a white woman? And he's like, yeah, she was. And he was like, and what's the difference now? Like, how is it now? And he was like, I mean, look, truth be told, there is a difference in the sense that the family dynamics are different. And obviously, I've had to understand Tando, get to know her culture more. I've had to get to understand her family as a whole more, because they're a lot more involved. Whereas with my wife before, my ex-wife, we weren't as involved in each other's lives, and there wasn't much culture to understand. We were the same. And also Tando being such a smart and strong black woman, I've had to, get to understand who she is, what moves her, what triggers her, I've had to understand her better. And so they were like, and he was like, and Tando is a lot more traditional than she lets on. She's a modern woman, yes, but she's got a very strong traditional influence. And they laugh. At that point, Tsepo chimes in and he was like, marriage, yeah. And Michael looks at him and he says, now, can I borrow a page from Nathaniel and ask you something personal? And he's like, yeah, sure. And he says, what happened? And he's like, oh, you're talking about the scandal. And he was like, yeah, what happened? And he was like, I got drunk on my own supply. And they all burst out laughing. And he's like, no, truth be told, it was one of those nights I would been drinking with some friends, and I left them at my house. Drinking with my brother and some friends. I'd left them at the house, so I could go out and quickly get some more dash for the gin. And on the way back from the store, I saw a sex worker, as you guys know. And I pulled over to talk to her. And I don't even know why I did that, because if I hadn't seen her, I most certainly would not have gone looking. My mind wasn't even there. And I tried to pick her up. Cops came behind me. They noticed that I guess my eyes, and I just wasn't all there. They came to me. They tried to talk to me. I got into a bit of a disagreement, a verbal altercation with them. And it just wasn't good. It wasn't good. Unfortunately, somebody was standing there recording the whole thing. It was a mess. It was absolutely a mess. And yeah, that's what happened. And they were like, and how did Tumi take it? Like, what did Tumi have to say? And he was like, what could she say? I mean, I've disappointed her so many times. What could she say? I'm even ashamed. Like, what could she say? Honestly, what could she say? She was hurt. She was angry. She was even more angry that the children might have to see this someday. So they're like, and now what's happening? And he says, well, now we're in counseling. We're trying to see if we can work things out. Pastor Richard has been such a great help. We're both just trying to figure it out. And Nathaniel was like, I mean, brother, no judgment here. I have to be very honest with you. I too kind of went off the deep end when Juju called off the engagement. I think I also kind of lost my, please excuse me, I have to fix my lip stuff. Ooh. Guys, this is what happens when I can see myself. I'm just... Sorry. So he was like, well, yeah. He's like, I also went off the deep end with Juju, broke the engagement off, but honestly, it was the best thing for us both. I didn't even know it until she did it, but I could feel there was something not quite clicking. But I felt the right thing to do was to marry her, to go ahead and I proposed, not understanding that it doesn't work like that. There's a lot more, as Pastor Richard has told us, there's a lot more to this thing called marriage. And I wasn't ready. And I'm grateful that she was, sensible enough to say, no, we can't do this. We're not going to do this. And she called it off. It was hard to accept at the beginning. I felt like I had failed at something, but here I am. I'm happy. I'm in a new relationship, in a stable relationship. So all I can say to you, brother, is keep at it, keep going for that counseling, and don't rush the process. Don't rush it. You need to get right first. That was me. That's what I had to do. I had to stop the foolery. I had to stop what I was doing, and I had to get right. So don't rush the process. Get right first. Don't go and make promises and commitments and arouse and this love and this excitement when you know you're not in that position to deliver. So keep at it. Keep with the therapy. He was like, I too at some point was whiling. I was dating many different women, and Pastor Richard was like, and did it help? And he was like, no, it just made me realize how messy my situation was. How messy my situation was. And they're all kind of sitting there listening, shaking their heads like, this is a lot. This is a lot. And they say to Nati, and you, what's up with you? You've been really quiet. And we've noticed that you've been doing a lot of work while you were here. And he was like, I don't know what to tell you guys. And they were like, brother, talk. Let it out here. Just let it out. Let it out. And he was like, well, I mean, how do I tell my wife that I'm damn near broke? My agency is going to shut down if I can't sell some more homes. Michael's like, you just tell her. You tell her the truth. You tell her the truth. If there's one thing I've learned from my previous relationship, is keeping things a secret does not help anybody. It makes things worse. Tell your wife the truth. I kept a lot hidden. I kept a lot away from my wife, and all it did was build resentment. I started disliking the relationship. I started disliking her, and I started hating myself. It was a mess. Tell her the truth. Just tell her the truth. The rest of that evening they enjoyed, just sitting there taking in that fresh breeze, drinking that cognac and smoking the cigars. Now the next morning, day 4, they were positively hungover. Nobody was waking up to make nobody coffee. It's not that. Nobody was waking up to cook breakfast. It is not that. But Nati woke up and decided, let me just go to the kitchen and get myself a cup of dark, strong coffee. And so he goes to the kitchen. And while he's making the coffee, he's like, what time is it? Like, what time is it? He's looking around, there's no clock. He sees a phone on the kitchen counter. And so he goes and he presses the phone so that he can see the time. Then he sees something on the phone and he's like, So he looks again and he sees his daughter's name. And then he sees a text message from his daughter saying, thank you for last weekend. Whatever you do, don't tell my dad. And he's like, whose phone is this? Whose phone is this? Whose phone is this? And then he notices the wallpaper is of Nathaniel and his girl. Now he stands there and he's thinking like, no, it can't be. Nope, it's not. Now he is brewing. He is boiling. He's like, no. Goes straight to Nathaniel's room, opens the door, and he's like, Nathaniel, what is my daughter doing texting you? Nathaniel's like, He's like, hey, wake up. What is my daughter doing texting you? And Nathaniel's like, what? And he lifts the duvet and he's looking at him and he can't really say anything. He's half asleep. What is going on? He's not saying anything. He pulls the duvet back. Oh, Nati's not having it. Nati takes it and rips it back. And he's like, I said, wake up. What is my daughter doing texting you? Before Nathaniel can say anything, Nati grabs him by the leg and pulls him off that bed and starts swinging. At this point, he's swinging. Nathan has woken up to a vicious attack. Okay? Now Nathan is here too because he has to defend himself. Now they are full on fighting. Nathan is doing everything he can to defend himself. The fight pours out into the hallway. They're hitting everything as they are fighting, as they are tussling. They are rambling. They are here. Everything banging. Eventually, Pastor Richard is like, what is going on there? So he comes out and he's like, hey, what's going on? And he's trying to split them up. Nothing works. He's screaming. Nati's screaming. He's shouting. He's fighting. Oh, no. Oh, no, ma'am. He is not having it. Now, let's be clear. His daughter, Nandi, is of age. She's in her 20s. But still, this is not acceptable at all. At all. And so he's fighting and throwing punches and pushing past Pastor Richard. Michael comes running out. Michael comes running out and is telling them, guys, stop. Don't. What are you doing? What's going on? He's trying to split them up. Tsepo's fast asleep. He is fast asleep. Last night got hella and he needs to sleep. So they are fighting. They're screaming. Eventually, they manage to pull the men apart. Nathan says, what are you doing? What are you doing? She asked me to meet her last week at the mall so she could choose your birthday present for you. She wanted to surprise you. Call her. They all stop and they're looking. At this point, Nathan's mouth is bleeding. They're all looking like... I mean, this fight was hectic. They had to use their strength to just... They're holding and they're looking at each other. Nati storms off. He goes to his room. He calls his daughter. Michael goes, gets some ice for Nathan's face. Pastor Richard is looking and is like, my goodness, I cannot even believe this has happened. Minutes later, Nati comes out and he's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I should never have attacked you. I'm sorry. I just lost it. When I saw her name, I lost it. I'm sorry. I lost my cool. I lost my temper. I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Nathan is looking at him like, my goodness, but they just hear like, it's okay, man. Like, are we good? Like, wow, that was hectic. The rest of the afternoon, they're separate. They are in their separate corners, kind of just enjoying their own company, not saying much. The following day, they were going back home. And so when they arrived back at home, of course, Fumi was there waiting at the airport for Pastor Richard so that she could welcome her baby back home. She's so excited he's there. Kisses him when she sees him, gets in the car, puts their luggage in the car, gets in the car, and she's the one driving. She's like, no, keep your feet up. Okay, you still enjoy the last bit of your vacation. And she's like, so, how was it? He looks at Fumi and he laughs in disbelief. He shakes his head and he's like,